Today, we will look at that idea from a Stoic point of view. We will talk about 7 kinds of people who can stop you from making progress in Stoic philosophy and how to deal with these difficult relationships. If you're not signed up, you should subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any videos. The first type of person is the complainer. We all know someone who is always unhappy with something, like the weather, their job, or even the food at a restaurant. You might think you can just ignore them, but it's important to understand why they are always complaining. It's not easy to just ignore negative things all the time. It can make you feel really tired and sad. It's like a drip from a faucet draining your emotional energy slowly but consistently. Stoicism teaches us to focus on finding ways to solve problems instead of just thinking about them. How can Stoicism help us handle someone who complains a lot? There are a few things you can do. First, try to spend less time around them if you can. If that's not possible, like if they're a family member or coworker, then try to mentally separate yourself when they complain. Think of their complaints as a temporary storm that can't affect your inner calm. This classic Stoic advice tells us to protect our inner calm and not let negative people bring us down from our strong and virtuous path. The second type of person is the drama magnet. Picture yourself sailing through calm waters in your life like a ship. But then, you come across a person who always has a lot of problems and drama. This person seems to always have conflicts or controversies. They can pull you into their chaotic world like a whirlpool. At first, you might be drawn to their energy, thinking it's exciting, but you'll soon see that being around them is not good. Dealing with drama magnets is difficult because their problems can feel like your own, and you might get caught up in their conflicts, even if you didn't start them. It's like steering a ship through a storm, tiring and risky. Here's a real-life example. You have a friend who often fights with others in your friend group. One day, they're not talking to Sarah. The next day, it's with Tom. Your friend asks for your help, but you see that this keeps happening. Then, you end up in a fight with Sarah or Tom because you tried to help. In this situation, you could use a strategy called reflective listening. Instead of giving advice or picking sides, you just repeat back what your friend says to show that you understand. Stoicism tells us to make our time important. This might mean not being available for other people's problems, especially if they keep happening and don't get solved. Turn off your phone at certain times and focus only on your work or personal growth. Let others know that during these times, you don't want to be bothered. According to Seneca, real happiness is about enjoying the present without worrying about the future. This is especially useful when dealing with people who always create drama. Instead of constantly worrying about what crisis will happen next, focus on the present moment where you have control. Enjoy your life and don't let someone else's trauma disrupt it. Make sure to steer your life calmly and avoid getting caught up in problems that may hinder your personal growth and peace of mind. The third type of person is the naysayer. Imagine you're an artist painting a picture. Every time you use the paintbrush, the picture becomes more colorful and alive. But then someone comes in and starts criticizing your work, saying things like, "Are you sure about that color?" That doesn't seem real. Many artists don't succeed and they criticize your work by making it less colorful and full of doubt and negativity. This is not helpful criticism. For instance, if you are really excited about starting a new career, you have researched it, talked to experts, and maybe even taken some classes. When you tell someone who is negative about it, they quickly tell you all the reasons why it might not work, like the job market being too tough if you have the right skills and what if you fail. Before long, their uncertainties make you feel unsure too, and the confident plan you had now seems unsure. How do you handle someone who doubts you, especially if they are close to you? One unusual but helpful way is to ask them for advice instead of just telling them your plans or goals. When people are asked for advice, they are less likely to criticize your ideas and might give more helpful feedback. Another way is to change the situation using a method called positive confrontation. Instead of taking in their negativity, ask them to think of solutions. If they say you can't change careers at this point, ask them how someone could successfully switch careers. So, when we listen more and speak less, it can help to stop negativity and make the conversation more positive. This reminds me of a quote from a philosopher named Epictetus, who said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen more than we talk. Listening doesn't mean we have to take in all the negativity from others. It means being able to tell the difference between important information and just meaningless chatter. When people who doubt you start to make you feel unsure, take a break and think it over. Listen, think, and keep living your life in a way that makes you happy. Don't let anyone make your life boring. The fourth type of person is the victim. Think of life like a game of chess. Everyone has the same pieces and wants to win by checkmating their opponent's king. You need to think carefully, make sacrifices, and take chances. But some people blame the board, the pieces, or their opponent whenever they make a mistake. They always feel like they are stuck and can't make any moves because of something beyond their control. They always tell a sad story about themselves and see themselves as the victim. I can't move up in my job because my boss doesn't like me, or I can't get in shape because of my bad genetics. It's important to remember that some people have real struggles and face unfair problems. But the person we're talking about always uses their situation as an excuse and doesn't take responsibility for their actions. You might end up getting caught up in their problems and always have to help them out. Imagine you have been listening to a friend for a long time who keeps blaming all of their failed relationships on their ex-partners. This not only takes up your time, but also might make you start thinking the same way in your own life. What do you do when you have to help someone who is hurt? It can be tempting to try to save them by giving lots of advice and emotional help. The Stoics would advise against this and recommend setting clear limits to protect your mental well-being. Take charge of your own life and make your own decisions. Just like in a game of chess, you have to keep moving forward and be willing to sacrifice things to grow and learn. Don't play out of anger or sadness, but play to become wiser and stronger. Being stuck in a bad situation is often a choice, not something that just happens to you. The fifth type of person is called the Toxic Positivist. You know this person, they always seem really happy and positive, always using lots of emojis. They tell you to just be happy, even when you're going through a tough time, and they don't really take your feelings and experiences seriously. Picture your life like a garden. You have pretty flowers, but there are also unwanted weeds and bugs. A toxic positive person ignores anything that isn't perfect. If you have bugs on your plants, just pay attention to the pretty flowers. Don't let negative thoughts into your garden. Even though it may seem nice to think that way, it can make you feel like your feelings are not important and like you're not dealing with the real situation. For example, if you're going through a difficult breakup, you're feeling upset and uncertain and looking for emotional stability. But the toxic positive advice is to just cheer up and be happy. This overwhelming positivity ignores the many feelings people have and the difficulties we face in life. How can you take care of your garden without letting people who only care about being positive ruin it with their unrealistic happiness? One way to connect with them is to have a conversation that covers both positive and negative aspects. If someone tells you to be positive and be thankful for your health, you can say, "I am thankful for my health, but it's also okay for me to feel upset about this specific issue. I can feel both at the same time." You can also use what psychologists call emotional granularity, which means the ability to feel and tell apart many different emotions, both good and bad. When someone tells you to just be happy, it's important to take a moment to recognize and understand your mixed emotions. It's okay to admit when you're feeling a bit sad because of something specific. This can be a freeing statement to remember. The philosopher Seneca said that real happiness comes from knowing our responsibilities to God and other people, and being able to enjoy the present without worrying too much about the future. Pay attention to finding a balance between doing things you don't always like and appreciating the moment. Stoicism is not just about being positive or negative, but about accepting life's ups and downs with calmness. So, when someone overly positive tries to disrupt your peace, just take a step back. Don't forget that a garden needs both sunlight and rain to grow well. Just like that, it's important to accept and take care of all your emotions. Keep taking care of your feelings and give them the attention they deserve. The sixth type of person is the manipulator. Imagine your life as a script for a movie. You are the most important person in the story, and you have a plan for how things should happen. You know where the surprises are, who will help you, and what the end will be like. The manipulator is like a hidden boss who secretly changes your script without you knowing, so one day you realize that your story is going in a different direction. The manipulator is good at being able to control how you feel or think. They might use nice words, make you feel bad, or even lie to get you to do what they want. Perhaps you have a friend who always convinces you to pay for dinner by saying they've had a tough time and it would mean a lot to them. As time goes by, you realize that people have been using your kindness, but it feels awkward to confront them because they made it seem like they were just helping out a friend who needed it. Dealing with someone who manipulates can be difficult. One way to stop their tricks is to use a tactic called fogging. This means agreeing with any true things the manipulator says, but not letting their emotional tricks affect you. If someone says you're doing great and should pay for dinner, you can say that you've been doing well, but we should split the bill like we usually do. Another option is to make it clear that you want to split the bill and stick to that. If someone tries to make you give them money or do things you don't want to do, it's okay to tell them no firmly. Stay calm and be clear when you say it. You can say, "I can't give you money, but I'm here to support you emotionally." This sets a boundary while still being a good friend. The ancient philosopher Epictetus taught that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. Manipulative people use your kindness, guilt, or need for approval to control you. When you decide to react in a new way, you are in charge of your life again. If you discover someone trying to control you, remember that you are the one in charge. You get to decide how your life goes, and even though there may be different people involved, you should always make choices based on your own values. Take back control of your life, and don't let anyone else manipulate your story. The seventh type of person is called a vampire. It might be someone you work with who keeps interrupting you with unimportant questions, making it hard for you to get things done. It could also be a friend who asks you to go to a lot of social events that you don't want to go to, making you feel like you have to go and using up your time and energy. These little interruptions may not seem important right now, but if they add up, they can really mess things up. So, how can you keep someone from taking up all your time? One good way is to use the Pomodoro technique. It means breaking up your work time into short chunks and not letting anyone bother you during those chunks. This helps you keep your most productive times to yourself. And if someone is always asking for your time, it's okay to say no for the sake of your own well-being. Instead of making up fancy reasons, just say thank you for inviting me, but I can't come. Saying no to an invitation doesn't mean you don't like the person. It means you have to focus on what's important to you. Seneca said that a good life is long enough. Stoicism teaches us to use our time wisely. Time is valuable, and we should be careful about how we spend it. Our time is like a canvas, and we should be picky about who and what we give our attention to. In your life, make sure everything fits with your overall goal. Don't let things that waste your time mess things up. Grip the baton tight and live your life with meaning. making sure that every moment is like a perfectly played note in your beautiful masterpiece. As we finish today's study of the people who can make us lose our calm and wisdom, we should remember that knowing ourselves is very important. It's easy to see these kinds of people in others, but it's harder and more enlightening to think about whether you might be unknowingly acting like one of them in someone else's life. Don't forget, Stoicism is not just about dealing with the world. It's also about learning and getting better ourselves. If today's talk has made you think or learn something, I'd like to hear from you in the comment. Share your thoughts and experiences with me so we can have a good discussion. Until next time, may your choices match your values, may your actions show your smarts, and may your life be the amazing creation it's supposed to be.